Hello and welcome to Hawk Talk. It is episode 11, and it's fitting that as we start our sixth week here on Hawk Talk, that we welcome in a Monmouth Hall of Famer, current New York Mets pitcher, and former Hawk standout, Brad Brach, is our guest here this evening. And before we do anything else, Brad, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and so excited. We've been talking to Monmouth coaches for the last few weeks and administrators, but now this Hawk Talk taking a different route, and we'll get the first-person perspective from one of Monmouth's greatest athletes, really of all time, and Brad. And if you have a question for Brad, who is going to be entering his 10th year in the major leagues here on our Hawk Talk, please make sure to contribute it into our Facebook Live chat, and I'll make sure to ask the New York Mets relief pitcher those questions. And Brad, before we do anything else, before we talk baseball, I have to ask how you and how your family are doing during this time.
We're doing well. Just hanging out. We live about 30 minutes south of Nashville. We're just kind of living a normal quarantine life right now, just kind of hanging out at home. Wife's pregnant with twin boys right now, so it's just trying to keep our distance from people as much as possible, just to be safe, better safe than sorry. And just kind of hanging out, doing some yard work, and still just trying to get ready for a season upcoming here if we're able to get something done. And just kind of enjoying this time off, just being able to help Janae out with our 2.5-year-old daughter too. So it's been fun.
I can imagine having a young child and then having twins on the way, not the easiest thing in the world, but you seem to be holding up pretty good with the young family. And I know that Janae is always so supportive of what goes on here at Monmouth, having to meet her when you were inducted into the Hall of Fame. But how is the little one now, getting ready to be a big sister?
She's good. She's excited. I think she's we asked her who's coming, and she says brothers, and she points them out Janae's stomach. And so she's getting excited for it. We know it's getting closer here. I think she might be going a little stir crazy like we are a little bit, but we try to do as many activities for her and change up the Disney movies that she watches, and just try to have as much fun as we can now before life is definitely going to take a turn for the crazy here moving forward here in the next about 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah, and it's starting to trend that way, that it seems all sports are going to probably start right around the same time. Before we talk baseball, obviously normally you would be playing, you would be very busy right now, probably getting ready to head down to the bullpen, come in hopefully to preserve a Mets win. But now that you're home, is this the most time that you and the family have had together at one time, you with your career and Janae with hers as well?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I think this is the most consecutive months where we spent together really without much time apart from each other, just from like the regular baseball schedule, 7 to 10 days apart, 2 times a month. And it's been fun. I think this is the first fall or spring and summer time I've seen in Tennessee. And it's nice. It's kind of a change of pace. And like you said, I think the first few weeks that we were sent home was kind of a different feeling, but it's just kind of one of those things you got to kind of roll with the punches right now. And whenever they say get ready to play, I'll get ready to play. And until then, just kind of taking it day by day and keep myself in shape, ready to play season if we play. And if not, I'll just enjoy the time with my family here now.
If you have a question for Brad Brach, again, please submit it via our Facebook Live chat, and I'll make sure to relay those questions over to Brad. We're obviously so excited and grateful that he's able to spend some time with us. And Brad, looking kind of things up, and I was getting ready for our chat today. Is it kind of weird to hear someone say soon to be 10th year Major League Baseball pitcher Brad Brach? Those years kind of caught up pretty quick.
Yeah, they do. It's crazy thinking back that, when I first got called up, I was 25, and now I'm pushing mid-30s and I'm still in the major league. So it's been a dream come true. And if somebody had asked me in the beginning that, do you think you see yourself playing 8-10 years in the major leagues? I would hope that would be the case. And, that's what I wish would be the case. But I mean, in reality, 8 to 10 year careers is pretty hard to come by. So I definitely consider myself blessed and very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And like you said, those 10 years have flown by, and it's been a great ride. I mean, I've got to be on the East Coast, West Coast, and the South, now with the team that I grew up rooting for, which has been extremely special. So it's been a really fun experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've gotten to meet some of the best people in my life through baseball, from high school through college, all the way through the pros now. And it's been a ride and a great journey, and one, like I said, I wouldn't trade the way my journey has gone for anything that, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And we'll get into that journey a little bit here on our Hawk Talk conversation. But before we continue with what we're doing, we do have our first question coming in, and it's going to actually play into what Brad just asked. And it's a colleague of ours, Bob Usler, who works for WFAN. He's known as Mr. Met affectionately, loves the Mets. Brad, he's a big fan of yours, and he wants to know, in your time, do any other that you, as far as you know, do any other Major League Baseball players who are still big fans of the team they grew up rooting for? Do you know, does that happen still? Any major leaguers who were big fans getting to play for their favorite team?
I don't really know. I mean, I honestly, I think growing up in the Northeast is a different thing too. I think we're just diehard professional sports team fans up in the Northeast, and especially the New York, New Jersey area. So I really don't know. A lot of these guys, when they're younger, they're not fans. They like baseball. They're good at it, so they play it. And it's not like one of those things where they have a favorite team. They might have favorite players or like to watch certain teams play. But I mean, I really always consider myself a fan first. So it's last year when I had the opportunity to play for the Mets, I just figured it was one of those things I couldn't pass up. And I had friends. My college roommate Andrew Myers was there actually when I had to make the decision of what team I wanted to go play for. I had about 6 or 7 teams I had the chance to go play with, and I just sitting there and we're talking about where you should go, and he's like, you know what, this might never be able to happen. So he's like, you got to take the opportunity and go play for them and see what happens. And I don't know, when I went there, I just felt extremely comfortable and so glad that I took the chance to go play for a team. And I really don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't know of a lot of guys who were big fans of the team growing up. But honestly, a lot of guys don't talk about their fandom just because a lot of the guys don't get to play for the teams that they grew rooting for growing up. So I don't really know the answer for that, but I think I've definitely been the most vocal here in the last year of anybody. So it's like I said, it's been fun. I'm just kind of taking it for the enjoyment of the ride that I'm on right now.
Were you kind of born into a Mets family? Did you become a Mets fan on your own? How'd that come about?
Yeah, I think my dad was a Yankee fan growing up, and then I think when the Mets came on TV, there was a lot more Met games than Yankee games or something like that, or he just enjoyed watching the Mets a little bit more than the Yankees, and so I grew up a Met fan. And honestly, my most memorable years were probably middle school, high school years when the Yankees were dominant, and I think I might have hated the Yankees more than I liked the Mets. So it was kind of one of those things. It was just tough being around Yankee fans because they were winning all the time. And the Mets were kind of struggling there after they had their few good seasons there in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it was tough definitely growing up a Met fan, especially all the Yankee fans in the area. But yeah, just kind of my brothers enjoyed watching the Mets. And I just really always was drawn to the Mets and the teams that they had and just really enjoyed rooting for them.
The questions are starting to come in for Brad Brach, so we'll dive into those questions now. And our first question that comes in here, obviously Bob wanted us to get that question in to Brad, but Andy from Union, New Jersey, Brad, wants to know, throughout your professional career, both minor leagues and major leagues, what has been your favorite stop along the way?
Man, I think I'd have to answer that in two different parts because the minor leagues is a totally different experience just because you get to really know those guys a lot better. Like a lot of those guys I played with coming up, they're still like brothers to me today. And we got to experience, Fort Wayne, Indiana was probably my favorite stop when I was coming up through the minor leagues. We won 100 games in the minor leagues, which is pretty much unheard of. And that group of guys were, I still talk to probably 7 to 10 of them on a daily basis today. And we just had such a great time together. It was our first summer, away from college or high school, just kind of all on our own for the first time. And we all just kind of really just joined together as a family. That's really the only way I can describe it. And to go through that league and win a championship and just get to kind of see an area of the country I'd never seen before was just an unreal experience. And then I think so far, professionally, my favorite stop has been Baltimore. It's the same type of thing, just being around the same group of guys for about 4 or 5 seasons. You get to really know them on a personal level. And for me, that's really what I value the most of anything that I've done professionally is just, the relationships that you're able to form. I know a lot of guys take it more of a business stance to that, but for me, it's just been able to be comfortable and, enjoy my time with guys that I've been around and, to form relationships and try to become friendly and, become lifelong friends with these guys. And I was able to do that in Baltimore. And, we had some really successful teams and I was able to play a big part on a couple of those teams. So I think that's been my favorite stop here so far. And who knows, maybe I'll play another 4 or 5 years and I have a better favorite stop here moving forward. But the Mets start to the Mets has been incredible. Really going there in August is you never know what to expect, but it's the most comfortable I felt since I've been in Baltimore. So we'll see what happens here with them moving forward.
Another question coming in for Brad, and it comes in from a familiar name to Monmouth baseball fans. And Brad, John Dennis has a question for you, and John Dennis wants to know if the Mets need a bullpen catcher because he's available.
Hey, you never know, JD. We could use another guy. They're always looking for help. You never know. I'll throw your name in the hat and see what happens.
One of the things that always, and it's pretty appropriate with these first couple of questions that I've always noticed is you mentioned some of your minor league teammates and major league teammates that you stay connected to, but this group of Monmouth baseball alums really seems to be a tight knit, connected group, and I know you're still in touch with a lot of your former teammates.
Yeah, this time has been kind of weird when it comes to a lot of things, but really, I think the best thing that's come from it is being able to reconnect with these guys on really a weekly basis. We get together and we have a Zoom call with, I think there's like 7 or 8 of us who went to Monmouth and about 6 or 7 of us who played on the baseball team. And it's just been great. It's been great getting to reconnect with those guys, but they all reach out separately and together in a group chat that we have. But really, since I've been home, we've been able to really sit down and have some awesome conversations, look back on the past and just kind of get to, like talk to each other like we used to back in college days. And it's been a lot of fun. And, we start the Zoom call around 8:00 p.m. Eastern. We may not get done until past midnight. So it's been a lot of fun. And those Friday nights are definitely something I look forward to, just to be able to sit down and shoot the breeze with those guys again. And it's been a great experience. Just like I said, just kind of getting to reacclimate ourselves with each other because it's been so long since we've done at Monmouth. I mean, the time has passed so fast, but those guys are definitely some of my best friends still to this day. And all of them have had a chance to see me play at some point here along the way. And it's just great getting to sit down in our living rooms and have conversations again. It's been a lot of fun.
I mentioned to you how long the major league career's been, entering year number 10. But like you just said, when you kind of back it up even further than that, go all the way back to your Monmouth time, 2007 NEC Pitcher of the Year. Brad, it's funny, your longevity's been really remarkable, but going all the way back to your time at Monmouth before that in Freehold, you always seem to be someone who is just ready whenever is called upon. And do you think back to those college times at all? Do you draw lessons from those very successful years that you had on the mound at Monmouth?
Yeah, it's funny today, just because I knew I was coming on here, I started thinking back just to some of the things that I did learn when I was in college. And I think the biggest thing for me was just being able to pitch. I got an opportunity to pitch at Division I, very competitive level. We played a good schedule, especially those first, 4, 5, 6 weekends. We were playing teams that were in conferences that had some of the best players in the country. I mean, we faced top 10 picks when we played them on weekend series in Houston and University of Central Florida. And that's just a small example of some of the teams we got to play. So for me, it was just getting to face some of the best competition in the country. And, from there, getting an opportunity to play the Division I full schedule. And then those 2 summers, I got to go down to Virginia and play against a bunch of kids who, were from the South. And then after that, I got to go play up in Cape Cod for a couple of weeks and just kind of, you kind of get an opportunity to rank yourself against guys you play with. And I think just being able to have success against those guys really gave me the confidence that I needed moving forward and made me realize that I really could make this a career if I wanted to and was willing to put in the work. And I think, just looking back on my mom's experience, it was just getting an opportunity to pitch and, Dean giving me a chance to, pitch from the moment how I started as a freshman all the way through my senior year. And I was able to pitch close to 300-400 innings while I was in school. And that lesson was really invaluable to me moving forward and kind of moving into a reliever role. When I got into the minor leagues, I was just kind of, my arm was ready and I was, very capable of pitching more than 1 inning at a time. So I think it really just allowed me to grow as a pitcher and as a competitor, really.
Well, Brad alluded to it. Still the all-time program leader in innings pitched, in wins, in strikeouts. And when you look back, is there maybe a moment or two that stand out to you in your Monmouth career? Obviously, being a part of a team that went to an NCAA regional was such a landmark moment for the program. But is there, and you had a no-hitter as well, but is there a moment or two that come to mind from your time at college?
Yeah, there was a few. My freshman year, I threw a complete game in the NEC tournament. I think that was really like when I finally understood that I could do that and that I could be that kind of pitcher. And I think it takes a little bit of time just to understand that what kind of a player or pitcher that you are. And that kind of it was my last start of the season, my freshman year, and kind of just put me in a good headspace moving into the summer that, that I could be one of the guys that the program could count on for the next 2 or 3 years that I was in school. I go there, and then my sophomore year, I got a win at UCF, and it was the first win in program history, and it was just a great game. And I remember being on the bus afterward, and Coach Hall gave me the game ball and just saying that, 15, 20 years from now, if I go to your house, I want to see this ball sitting on the mantle, and still have it to this day, sitting in a case on the side in our office here. And definitely, not one game in particular, but that whole run of 2007, just getting a chance to go play in the NCAA regional and getting to go pitch against Arizona State. When you look back and look at their lineup, and you're talking 6, 7, 8 major league players are in that lineup, and we took them down to the last strike. And that was just those experiences with getting to play with all, like my teammates, roommates, and all those guys for those years. Just those experiences are invaluable, and still think about them to this day. And I think something I'll never forget, regardless if I was able to win a major league World Series or, like anything like that, it would be at the same level as those type of achievements, because they were just so great being with guys you spend so much time with pretty much every hour of every day for months on end with. And I think, just invaluable experiences and something I take with me to this day.
I just mentioned Brad's the all-time Monmouth career wins leader. So pretty cool, pretty remarkable, by the way. You have more wins now as a major leaguer than you did in college. So, we're going to delve into the major league career a little bit, but Brad, at what point when you were at Monmouth did you realize that playing baseball professionally could indeed be your career?
I think it was after my sophomore year. I went down, like I said, that Virginia League, the Coastal Plains League down in Petersburg, Virginia. And I was able to make the all-star team there. And it was the first time I'd ever played with guys from, some of the bigger schools like Virginia Commonwealth and Richmond and UNC Greensboro. And there were some schools there that you played against guys from Carolina and, NC State and Mississippi State. So you're playing against these schools for guys who play in the South where, growing up in the Northeast, you hear about how good these guys are from California, from Florida. And getting to play with those guys and make the all-star team in that league was definitely something that I realized, maybe if I just keep working hard, that I might have a shot to do it. And it kind of, like I said, my confidence was really good after my freshman year, followed that up with a good sophomore season. And then when I went down there and was able to go toe-to-toe with some of the best players in the South and in the country, it was definitely a confidence booster, and gave me the confidence that, if I did want to play professionally, I could possibly do it. There were scouts there, and I had, the GM of the team kind of talk to me and tell me what I need to do to take the next steps if I wanted to play professionally. And it was just a lot of fun to get to go play there and kind of boost my confidence and just kind of get my mindset in the right spot to go play. And I had a couple of teammates who went and played that summer too, and we kind of just came back with a different mindset. We kind of struggled there at the end of my sophomore year. We missed the conference tournament in the last game of the season, and I think it really just kind of drove us to go and have a really good summer and come back in the fall with a different mindset and kind of drive ourselves both personally and team-wise moving forward. And the results spoke for themselves the next 2 seasons we were at the school.
In that 2007 regional team, the core of that team that were young then came back, went to another regional in 2009. So really the great work you and your teammates did really resulted in 2 trips to the NCAA tournament, which was huge for the program. Again, if you have questions for Brad, please submit them via our Facebook live chat. I feel bad. Our good friend Frank Delaney, who's watching, I actually jumped the gun and I asked the question that Frank was going to ask. So Frank, I do appreciate you checking in. But while we have in the questions, there is another question coming in, Brad, from another teammate. And Frank Catalano has a question for you. And he wants to know, besides being all of the accolades that you've had, All-State through All-NEC, Pitcher of the Year, is there a single moment in any of your baseball career, from Freehold to the Mets, that stands out to you?
Obviously, I would say the All-Star game 2016 was pretty special. Obviously, just to be in the same sentence as all those guys is something that I just never in my wildest dreams thought would happen. And I think what made it even more special was being able to go back, and the game was in San Diego. So for me, just getting to go back to the team that drafted me and kind of just like a full circle type moment. I think it was for me personally, that was just a really great moment. Just getting to spend it with my family, my friends, having former coaches, former teammates, just kind of be there and get to experience some of that with me. It was awesome. It was a whirlwind experience, and it all went way too fast. I wish I could go back and enjoy it a little bit more. I think that's what the case. A lot of this stuff, especially in such a competitive atmosphere, you just kind of lose sight of the bigger picture at times, which can help you and also hinder you at times, I think. But I think that was one of the better moments I was able to experience. But I think still to this day, being part of 2 division championship teams with the Orioles in 2014 and the Braves in 2018, this game is about team achievement. And regardless of what you do on the field individually, the things you'll remember the most are what you did as a team. And with the Braves, I was there only for a couple months, so I didn't really get to fully experience it from the beginning of spring training to the end. But I know that run we had in 14 with the Orioles was something I'll never forget. It was extremely special getting to be a part of that group. For me, it's just the team accolades are so much more important than individual stuff, just because I enjoy that a lot more, like I said, when it comes to relationships and getting to know guys. And I don't know how to take individual accolades and kind of enjoy them as much as, I just don't really enjoy them as much, because I would rather do it as a group of 25. And I guess it's just part of growing up in a baseball atmosphere where, you're not told to enjoy the individual stuff. Maybe when you're done, you can enjoy it. So definitely those 2 division championships are something that I really enjoy. And I hope I get to experience a World Series championship one day, because watching those guys celebrate on the field after every year is definitely something I aspire to be a part of.
So this team-centric idea, which, by the way, I would probably make the case that for a pitcher, I think it's unique. Where does that start? At what point in the development of Brad Brach, the baseball player or the man, did that kind of get instilled in you?
I think it probably pretty early on. I think my parents are pretty big on never, take the individual stuff too seriously, or don't ever make it about you, because it's not about you. At the end, it's only about really how good you can make guys around you. And I think it's really tough to learn at a younger age, but I think as you get older, it's kind of one of those things you really take pride in. I know for me now, I hope that some of the younger guys I come in contact with will take some of the stuff that I've learned from guys along the way and kind of just teach somebody else that's younger. I think baseball is really one of those sports where it's multi-generational, and you have guys. We had a pitching coach last year with the Mets who is in his mid 80s, and he's coaching guys who are in their early 20s. And I mean, there's just not sports that you are around that get to do that. It's just not possible. I think baseball is just one of those sports where you can really slow things down and get to know people a little bit better. So I think, honestly, to answer the question, it started at a really young age. And I think it just kind of carried over. And we were actually talking about it this past Friday, just how a lot of the guys at Monmouth, we were very team oriented, and we would rather have teammates come and pick us up or had us on the butt when we needed it, as opposed to having a coach come and tell us. And I think that's a very unique aspect of sports in today's world. I think a lot of kids and, even not even just kids, but even adults, they need somebody at a higher position, whether it be a coach, a GM, or something like that, come up and, hey, man, you really, you need to pick me up today, or just kind of get on you. They would rather have a coach do that as opposed to having a teammate. And I don't know. I don't know where it started. I just know it's always been in there. And I think as I've grown older, I know it's kind of come out a little bit more, and something I really enjoy part of the game here moving forward.
The questions are coming in for Monmouth Hall of Famer, current New York Met Brad Brach, and we will get into the questions now. Lynn from Jackson, a regular contributor here on our Hawk Talk series, wants to know, Brad, to this point, as far as the news involving a hopeful Major League Baseball season, what do you hear? What are your thoughts about the potential return of pro baseball?
I wish I had a better answer other than really what's been said in the media and what's been shown out and spoken about on ESPN or anything like that. Is pretty much all we've been hearing. I guess negotiations are still kind of going on between the Players Association and the Major League Baseball. And I mean, at this point, I think people just kind of, I would want people to understand that the players, we want to play. I think it's just one of those things where we want to be safe and be able to play a season where we're going to be healthy, and not necessarily on a getting sick aspect, but being healthy on a field aspect, I think is the biggest thing when it comes to our careers, baseball players. We really take pride in being healthy on the field, and the way everything has been done here, it's not a very conducive season to staying healthy. And I think that's what the union's job is, to make sure that, being able to go back on the field is going to be the safest thing for us as athletes and as players. And I think that's just one of those things they're kind of diving into right now. But like I said, I wish I had a better answer than what's being said in the media. But at this point, that's kind of where we're at. And we're just they're in negotiations, and we'll just kind of see what happens from there. But I would like people to know that as players, we really want to play the season, and hopefully we can get something done.
Yeah, and I think it kind of mirrors what all of us want. We want, as fans, to watch you and your teammates play, but obviously has to be done within all of the guidelines. And like you said, not just even virus related, but and you're a guy that takes excellent care of your body, but you're doing yard work right now. It's not the normal thing that you're used to. So we know that all does take time. But I speak for everyone watching now when I say I'm with you. We're excited to watch you guys play baseball again soon.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. I think, unfortunately, with some of the way the media might be or whatever, I think it kind of gets drawn towards the economic side. And I just kind of wish I was taken out of it, just because at the end of the day, the players really do want to play. And I think the message is being lost somewhere along the way that, we're more worried about money than anything else. And I just think that's not really the case. And hopefully we can move past all that and just kind of get a season rolling here, and everybody can kind of move on from that talking point and just get back into playing these games, and, get to give the American public something to watch and, to do on these nights here where we're not really sure what to be doing and what to be watching. Like we were talking about before, I should be getting ready to pitch a game here tonight, and we're actually going to be in Philadelphia right now. So I kind of keep along with the season here, and, it stinks because yesterday we were supposed to have off, which is kind of a weird off day for Memorial Day, but I was hoping to get to see my brother and go back to Freehold, and that would be, kind of an added bonus here during the season. But like I was just saying, hopefully we can get something done here and get something rolling here pretty soon.
If you watched earlier, you heard how important a team is to Brad and how important his teammates are to him. So with that in mind, we go into our next question, and it comes with a familiar last name. So I'll let Brett tell us who the relation is. But Katie Brach has a question, Brad, and Katie wants to know, who is your favorite all-time teammate?
Well, that's a pretty easy answer. I think anytime somebody gets to play with their brother in high school, it's special. But if somebody gets to play with their brother in college, is that much more special. It's those 2 years we got to spend together in college were awesome. And like I said, get to play at a Division I level like that, and get to share that with your brother, and having my parents so close there, that was a great experience. And when me and Brett were together on the same team, having my older brother come down to Atlantic City and get to watch the conference tournament, stuff like that is invaluable. And it's some of those experiences we haven't really had to have as a family since that point. So it's been great. And one of my favorite experiences too is in AAA in 2014. Me and Brett played against each other, and it was the first time we had gone against each other anywhere professionally. And it was just great getting to take a picture on the field before the game, and get to hang out after the game and just kind of shoot the breeze with him and Janae, and just hang out at the apartment there in Norfolk. It was pretty awesome, and one of those more special moments I can remember. But that was a good question, Katie, and good softball question for me. But yeah, definitely my brother Brett was the most memorable teammate I've had so far.
And as you and I were talking before, and if Monmouth fans are watching, as Brad alluded to, they were part of a tremendous rotation. But you and I were catching up before. It's good to know that Brett is doing well also.
Yeah, definitely. He's out in California right now, in the San Diego area, and him and his wife and his two kids are just living the quarantine life like a lot of people are throughout the country, and just kind of trying to stay as safe as possible and keep their distance until regulations allow otherwise. But yeah, they're hanging out. He's grown a beard and just kind of hanging out and seeing what happens here moving forward.
Katie checked back in and said that was the correct answer, by the way.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah, I knew I had to give the right answer there. She would let me know at some point. So I'm glad to know I answered it right.
The questions for Brad Brach continue to roll in. And by the way, if you missed any of our Hawk Talk conversation tonight or any of our previous 10 episodes, you can go to monmouthhawks.com. We have them archived there, as well as right here in the video tab on the Monmouth Athletics Facebook page, as well as on YouTube. The next question comes in from another alum. Laura Ankrum is checking in, and she's a track and field alum from Monmouth University. And Laura Ankrum wants to know, Brad, what was your favorite major league stadium to pitch in?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and it's gotten really hard to answer over the last few years because it's you always like think about a particular outing or just a certain view of the stadium that you had sitting in the bullpen. But some of my favorite places to pitch it were definitely. I mean, obviously Camden Yards. I got to play it for 5 years, and I think I kind of took it for granted while I was there. But that stadium's incredible, and Fenway Park is, to me, if you have not spent a summer night at Fenway Park, you have to do it. It's like taking a step back in time. And I'll never forget my first time there was July 4th time. It was a July 4th game. We got rained out. I mean, 9 a.m. we found out rain out from the get-go. It poured the entire day. The next day we had a doubleheader. And I mean, the view of the sunset there at the stadium and the perfect temperature, and it was an incredible experience. One of those things I'll never forget. But I tell everybody Pittsburgh too is one of my top 3 or 5 stadiums. It's nothing like a summer night game in Pittsburgh with the background of the city there. The cityscape is right beyond right field with the bridges all lit up in yellow, and they just do a really good job of supporting their team there and their diehard fans. So I'd definitely say if you haven't been to Fenway or Pittsburgh, it's 2 of my favorite places to pitch and play. And yeah, it's just great stadiums. And I mean, it's hard not to say Citi Field too. Just growing up a Met fan, they did a really good job with that stadium too. So yeah, it's like I said, it's gotten really hard to pick these stadiums because they've all gotten so nice here in the last 5 or 10 years. But those are definitely some of my favorites so far.
I'm with you. Camden Yards was, and I'm a Yankee fan, but Camden Yards was the first ballpark I went to as a young fan, and it just takes your breath away. Your experience, kind of on both sides. You're a fan. You went to games, but now as a major league player, does it ever lose its luster walking into a ballpark now that you've 9 years in the bigs, but that you were a fan at one point? Is it still kind of has that same feeling that it always did, maybe when you were younger?
Yeah, there's definitely. I think you hate to say that it turns into a job, but at some point you kind of have to get over the luster because the season's so long. 160 games is just a long season, and I don't think you understand how long it is until you go through a full one. So for me, that wasn't until 2015, about 4 or 5 years into my career, where I was up from the beginning until the end of the season. And you just you turn more into a routine-based thing. So when you get to certain fields, you definitely get excited for a series, like when you go to a new stadium or you play a team you haven't in a while, or it's just a nice day out and you're like, man, I can't wait for the weather here tonight. There's definitely certain perks throughout the season, but I think the more you're able to keep it even keel, the better off you are, just because you, especially as a reliever, the ups and downs are what kill you. So if you're up, you want to stay up as long as possible. When you have a down period, you want to make it come back as quick as possible. So for me, it's just kind of keeping an even keel and trying to just not let, the emotions of a series or the emotions of playing a certain team get to you too much. But I mean, I definitely found myself, definitely the holidays, like when you play Memorial Day, 4th of July, there's fireworks going on. There's excitement in the crowd. You can smell the hot dogs. You can't help but think of just baseball and, growing up being a fan and wishing and hoping that at one point I'd get to play one of these games, let alone 10 years worth of these games. It definitely hits you. And, I think those couple playoff experiences too definitely bring you back to just being a fan. And, I think I've had certain experiences where I've had some ups and some pretty hard downs. And last year was definitely one of them with the Cubs. I just pitched terrible. When I finally got back to the Mets, my first game there was right after they got through that hot streak of where they won like 10 in a row and 13 out of 14. Citi Field Friday night. And I mean, the stadium was packed. And I had never seen a Mets game like that since, where they were in the World Series. And to get to be there in the bullpen and be a part of that excitement and come back, we went on a walk-off in the ninth. And it kind of just rejuvenates your fandom, or like why I do this for a job or do it for a living. It really just kind of kicks you back in a place where, why was I sulking there? Why was I so down? And those are the experiences that I really, you look forward to and you hope that you can get, where they kind of just rejuvenate you and kind of get you back to being that little kid sitting in the stands watching the game again.
That's pretty cool. And all of us that never had the opportunity to do it where you are, that's pretty, it's interesting to hear someone who's played and been a Major League All-Star have the experience like that. And we do have questions coming in, but Brad, I have a question for you first that will lead in to a viewer question. Who was the batter that you faced early in your career that was that welcome to the show moment for you? When you saw who stand in, did you realize, wow, I'm a major league pitcher?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I had that exact experience standing on the mound just because it was my second outing. It was against the Colorado Rockies. I faced Troy Tulowitzki hits a base hit the left field. I'm on the mound, come set, and I step off and I look up at home plate and it's Todd Helton. And for me, it was just, growing up playing Ken Griffey Jr. on Nintendo 64. I know a lot of kids don't know what that is now, but he had one of the big circles. And that was the first game where the bad hitters had the smaller circles and the big hitters had Ken Griffey Jr. and them had these huge circles, and Todd Helton was one of them. And I just remember looking at him and being like, man, this is the major leagues. You're facing Todd Helton here on a Friday night in San Diego for the pod. It was just one of those experiences that I'll never forget. And it was almost made me smile. I'm glad that I didn't smile on the mound, but it's kind of, it's the movie Summer Catch. It was kind of one of those things where, you give up the home run, you can't help but just smile. He gives up a home run to, I think it's Ken Griffey Jr. or somebody like that, and he just kind of smiles. And it's just one of those experiences that you made it. It's one of those things where you just got to kind of look back and appreciate at the time where you are. And I think that kind of helps you moving on with your careers, because a lot of times when you can just live in the moment and not get yourself too big or too small, it really helps you throughout your time. So that was definitely the first one that I had where it was like, wow, you're in the major leagues and this is for real.
I'm just excited you brought up Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. These young gamers, they don't know how good that game was.
Yeah, it was great. I think that's one of the last game systems that I played, so I'm a little behind on the video game systems. But yeah, that game for me was the best baseball game and probably the only one that I really played. A lot of my college teammates and stuff played Major League Baseball, the game in college and stuff like that, where they had a college edition too. But I never really got into it after Nintendo 64, so I'm kind of dating myself with that system.
No, it's okay. I'm with you. And Edgar Martinez had the biggest hit circle I've ever seen, if you remember back to that game. And so that question, not the video game, the first part of the question, that leads me into a viewer question. And Jason, who's in Freehold, Brad, wants to know, who is the toughest hitter that you faced in your major league career?
Toughest one I faced, I think stats-wise and just I don't know how to get the guy out is Pablo Sandoval. He's been with the Giants. I faced him with the Giants and the Red Sox. He's just one of those guys. It doesn't matter what I throw up there. He somehow is right on it. He's what we call bad ball hitters. So you're better off throwing a pitch right down the middle. And a lot of times I have a hard time throwing the ball right down the middle. For me, I've always lived on the edges. And when you throw the ball right down the middle, a lot of times you get hurt. But for him, you're better off just doing that. And I thought I was finally able to start getting him out pretty well until last year. I faced him with the Giants again, and then he hits a walk-off homer off me in San Francisco at night, opposite field, which I never thought was even possible growing up and coming up with San Diego. But yeah, he's just tough out, and just really struggled with him early on in my career. And then last year and the last few times I faced him, he's just, for whatever reason, he's just really tough out. And him and Josh Donaldson, I faced the most, and both of them are just really good hitters and can kind of give you fits, as you can imagine. But the more you see them, the more they know what you're going to do, and it just gets a little bit tougher as you move along.
If you want to get your question in for Brad Brach, again, please submit it in our Facebook live chat down below, and we'll make sure to relay that question to Brad. There is one coming in, and it's from another Monmouth alum, John Source, who, as a journalist, covered the Monmouth baseball program in his time at the university. John Source checking in. And Brad, he wants to know, when you think back to that 2014 Orioles playoff run, what's the first thing that comes to mind about that special group?
I think it might be maybe like a self-essential, but just our bullpen. I mean, I look back to the guys that we had in there, and we had Darren O'Day, Zach Britton, Tommy Hunter. We got Andrew Miller at the trade deadline. Brian Mattis, TJ McFarland. We had guys who are still pitching today. Most of us are still pitching today. And when you look back at that run we had, it was our starting staff on those teams weren't the greatest, but we just kind of knew what was expected of us. And I think it was just a great mindset that bullpen had. And I mean, obviously one particular play comes into mind, but it was the Delma Young double that cleared the bases at Cammy Yards. To this day, still the loudest I've ever heard a stadium. We were down by, I think it was 2 runs at the time in the 8th inning. We might even started the inning down 4 runs or something like that. And we scored 5 or 6 runs that inning. And I mean, the place was just absolutely electric. He came up with the bases loaded. Everybody knows he's swinging first pitch. Joaquin Soria throws a hanging slider and hits it down in the corner. And I mean, everybody in that dugout was acting like a 5-year-old kid. We're waving home every guys are coming around, and it's like you're floating in the air with how much excitement and how much it still gets chills thinking about it. Just when JJ Hardy was rounding third there and we take the lead, it was one of those moments that you can't replicate, and you know what's going to happen before it happens, but it's watching it is a totally different experience. And just being there for that and being there with the guys that you, like I said, just be there 162 games with is just, it's just such an awesome experience. And to get to see a guy like Delman do that too was great. And he was well liked by every single guy on that team. And he was there for that purpose and that purpose only. He just, to see guys come through like that is pretty awesome, especially at the major league level, to watch a guy. He's sitting on the bench the whole game and comes out there, sees one pitch and changes it with one swing of the bat. It's the best part about baseball, and it's the most frustrating part about baseball on the pitching side. So I think it's what makes the game just so great.
The questions continue to come in for Brad, and this next one that comes up is an interesting one that I've been wondering a lot myself. And Chris and Wall, I think I know who Chris and Wall is. Chris and Wall, Brad, wants to ask you about the Monmouth cleats that you've worn on the different players' causes weekends, and when the players are allowed to kind of decorate and wear those cleats. And he wants to know, what was the inspiration for you wearing those Monmouth-themed cleats, and how important is Monmouth to you to this day?
Yeah, it's greatly important. There wasn't a question in my mind. I unfortunately don't really have like a charity that I work hand in hand with, but I mean, I give throughout to multiple ones throughout the year. But for me, there wasn't a question in my mind when I heard that we could design cleats. I thought back to my high school and to Monmouth. And for me, New Jersey is still, it doesn't matter how long I don't live there for. I haven't lived there in close to 10 years now. But for me, I'm born and raised in New Jersey, and I consider myself from New Jersey and still live in New Jersey, even though I haven't for close to 10 years. And, Monmouth is what gave me, like I said, it gave me an opportunity to play professional baseball. It gave me a chance to get a college degree, which me and my older brother at the time were the only two in our entire family who had a college degree. So for me, that was greatly important. And that's the plaque behind me right there is my degree. And I keep it in the office just for to have all the time. So I really can't put into words how much Monmouth means for me. So like I said, when it came time to make a cleat, I thought right away, I'm making a Monmouth cleat, and I'm making a Freehold Township cleat, and would just like to represent for those two schools, just because I know there's not a lot of kids that from that area who make it, and I never really had somebody to kind of point to. There's obviously the Frazier brothers and the Leiter brothers and guys like that, but they were, in my eyes, they were superstars and not somebody that I could ever possibly reach towards and have a career like they had. So maybe I can give the kid that was a really late round draft pick who got $1,000 as a senior in college could look up to, and something maybe he could he's dreaming of playing Major League Baseball or any sport right now, and he doesn't think he has a chance. But when I went to Monmouth, I finally realized that I had that chance, and it gave me that opportunity and allowed me to get drafted. And that's all I wanted, was an opportunity to just have a chance to make it in professional baseball, and I kind of ran with it. So I'm really glad that Major League Baseball has allowed us to have those days, and I think I've had 3 years now, cleats, maybe even 4 years now, where I've done different Monmouth cleats every year. So hopefully I'll be able to have a collection here, about 6 or 7 of them, and it'd be really cool to look back and maybe give it back to the university and they can have it on display, because it's just a really cool opportunity to represent Monmouth.
No, that is so cool. That obviously that is so near and dear to you, and like you mentioned, have the diploma over your shoulder. That's a pretty cool thing that we get to see now. And I know, as you and I were talking before our Hawk Talk here tonight, you mentioned to us that you recently got to get on a Zoom call with the current team and address them. And what was your message to the current Monmouth baseball team, especially with the way their season unfortunately ended prematurely?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's obviously unprecedented, but for me, it was kind of, you could take this break that we have right now, and you could either use it to grow as an athlete, or you can use it as an excuse not to grow as an athlete. And I think, at least I hope the message that I conveyed to them was, it's very easy to just sit there and say, I'm not going to do anything today. But I mean, it's such an opportunity right now, especially, kids in college, where classes are done now. You're sitting at home, and I mean, you could really grow as an athlete and as a person, as your mental game. You could grow so much during this time. And most of them don't have kids. Most of them don't have a wife. if not all of them, don't have a wife and kids. So I mean, your time right now could be fully dedicated to a sport, and I think you give them an opportunity to see what it's like to be a professional if that's what they want to do or aspire to do. And it could be a very motivating thing. I just think that any day that you go by without doing some kind of activity to help you in your sport is a day wasted and a day lost. So for me, it's just been going out every day, whether it's throwing every day, throwing on that day, or lifting on that day, or running on that day, or just doing something physically that will help me get better that day is just what I've been kind of setting out to do. And I know I'm not perfect, and I know I haven't been doing something 100% of the days, but if you do more days than not, it's better. It's better for you both mentally and physically. And I think now, as we're getting in close to the 3-month mark here, just kind of sitting at home, I think it's more of a mental thing than anything else. I know I found myself here the last couple of weeks just finding myself, what am I doing this for? What am I working out for? What am I doing all this stuff for? If something might not happen, but that's just a bad place to go down. And I think it's better to take it as a day by day basis as opposed to looking at this over a long period. And I think it can just kind of help you, like I said, as an athlete, grow physically, and I think just mentally be more, stronger and kind of help your game here moving forward.
Well, I'm going to take that advice anyway into my professional world, because I think we all could use that advice that you just said, whether we're getting ready for a season or getting ready to resume normal work. I think that's great advice, and it kind of leads me into my next question, Brad. If you could talk to, and you kind of did a little bit, but talk to maybe those student athletes who do have aspirations to play at the next level. You were a 42nd round pick. This year, there's only a handful of rounds in the Major League Baseball draft. So to carry that theme, what advice would you give to those student athletes who do have thoughts and dreams of playing at the next level? What would you tell them based on your experience, how they can hope to have a career as long as yours?
For me, the biggest thing is just don't give up. I think for me, it was never really listening to people doubting me or saying that you couldn't. Not that I had that many people in my life, but just not really listen to any negativity. Just kind of, if somebody's giving you criticism, take it for what it is and kind of use it positively moving forward. And I think for me, I've been able to just kind of keep the straight and narrow and just kind of keep my head and my vision on the short-term goals. And I think that's really helped me over the long term. And I think just not get too far ahead of myself. I think back to more so professionally, when I first got in professional ranks, it was just kind of, okay, just do well this night, do well this series, do well this week, do well this month. Next thing you know, a full month has gone by and I've done really well. And next thing you know, a full season's gone by and I've done really well. Move on to the next level and kind of just do the same thing. I think it's very easy to get ahead of yourself. And there's probably a lot of people, who sit there and think, I want to be a major leaguer, but there's a lot of steps that come before that, and that will help you become a major leaguer. And once you get there, it's really hard to stay there. So for me, I think if you want to be a major leaguer, you take all those small steps. You have such a foundation. Once you get there, it's going to help you once you get to that next step. So whether you have aspirations to play at the college level or if you have aspirations to play at the professional level, every experience that you have is going to create the foundation that will help you at the next level. And I know I'm not saying anything that's revolutionary or anything, but I know for me, just kind of looking back, that's what's really helped. I think stuff that I learned in high school really helped me in college. The stuff that I learned in college greatly helped me at the professional level. And just every year is a different battle once you get to professional. And I think just kind of going out there and taking it day by day. And I think the biggest misconception is once you get to professional levels, you want to make the major leagues. Making the major leagues is great. It's fun. And I would never discourage or say bad about anybody that makes it. But the goal is to stay. And it becomes a lot more fun once you're able to stay in the major leagues. And that's been the biggest challenge of all. And I mean, like I said, I've gone through my ups and downs. Once I got to the major leagues, I still struggle year to year, week to week, night to night. You can ask my wife, just staying in a positive mental wavelength. And I've been there for 8-9 years. I had the experience to back it up. But I just think that if you're able to take those steps and use those experiences moving forward, it kind of helps you stay in a better positive mental approach once you get there. And so my advice would just be, just stay strong, believe in yourself, and just never give up on your dream, because that was something I never did. It didn't matter who told me I could or couldn't. I just, in my mind, I knew I was going to make it. And once I got there, then it was going to be time to battle and just kind of use my experiences. But for me, there was never a doubt in my mind I was going to make it. I wouldn't brag or be egotistical about it, but I just knew I was going to make it. And once I got there, then it was time to really get to work and really figure out what it took to be a major leaguer.
And as you get ready for your 10th season, which, as we've said, we are all hopeful will start very soon, it's probably not something you've done a lot of, is look back and reflect. But I know you got to do that a little bit. And a couple of years ago, it was really a tremendous night in Wilson Hall when both you and Miles Austin were inducted into the Monmouth Athletics Hall of Fame. Did you maybe that night have a chance to look back a little? I know you're so focused on what's next and the next stage of your career, but what did that induction, that night mean to you and maybe give you an opportunity to look back at what you've accomplished?
Yeah, it was great. I think what I loved the most was just having family and my best friends there just kind of celebrate with me. Because, like I said, none of that would have happened without them. None of the success that I've had is without those friends and family that keep in contact with me and kind of push me along when I need the pushing. And it was just great. I think any time something like that, which, like I said that night, it was extremely humbling being put into the Monmouth Hall of Fame. And it was just a great experience. And like you said, it's just a chance to finally look back. And at that point, you never know. I think now that I've learned is every offseason is a great opportunity to just kind of look back and think back to what you've accomplished, because you just never know when it's going to end. I mean, going into last season, I never thought I would have had the season that I had, but I mean, that's what just makes you think the game could be gone in the snap of a finger, and it can happen really fast. So it just kind of gives you a chance to kind of really hold on and grasp on tight to the stuff that you really enjoy, and makes you work harder to kind of keep what you built to that point. So, especially getting put in alongside somebody like Miles. I mean, he was somebody everybody that went to Monmouth during that era looked up to, and to see somebody playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL is about as much motivation as you could ever ask for. So he was really the first guy from Monmouth that I watched and was like, he can do it. I mean, why can't anybody else? Because he's obviously a great athlete, but I mean, Miles was just, you see him walk around campus and he was just like anybody else. And, some of the poker games we had during college and stuff like that, he was there and sitting at the table just like anybody else would. And so it was definitely a great experience to get to see him on TV and see him play for the Cowboys. And he definitely gave you motivation. And it made me proud going to Monmouth just because, guys would say, "Oh, where's Monmouth?" I never heard it. I was like, "Oh, ever heard of Miles Austin?" Yeah, he went to Monmouth. They're like, "Oh, he went to Monmouth." And it just kind of made it more relatable, and guys kind of could understand where you came from and the school you went to. So, it was just, just stuff like that is invaluable and really made me enjoy everything.
Well, for the next generation of those at Monmouth that aspire to be professionals, they can look at you that way, Brad, and they can say, "Oh, that's right, Brad Brach, he went to Monmouth." And I know I speak for everyone associated with the athletics department when I say that it's an honor to watch you carry yourself as a professional at the major league level for as long as you have, a tremendous role model and ambassador for all of those student athletes at Monmouth. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to join me this evening.
Absolutely, no problem. Like I said, thanks for having me. And like I said, I hold Monmouth dear to my heart. So anything I can ever do, would love to be back on, and feel free to chat to anybody. And just really appreciate you guys having me on here.
That's current New York Met Monmouth Hall of Famer Brad Brach joining me on tonight's edition of Hawk Talk. If you missed any of our conversation, again, it's available on MonmouthHawks.com as well as in the video tab here on the Monmouth Athletics Facebook page. Our next conversation is this Thursday. I'll be joined by Monmouth men's lacrosse head coach Brian Fisher. That'll be live at 7 p.m. We want to thank Brad again. And for our guest this evening, Brad Brach, I'm Eddie Acapinti saying thanks for watching and good night.